It's the economy, stupid. Black and Hispanic voters embrace Trump on economics and well being. Of course, I say this time and time again. If you look at any barometer pertaining to president terms, and you take those barometers and you compare Trump to Biden, it's a no brainer that Trump across the board smashed Biden on every barometer, from the economy to crime to everything. I mean, you name it. Um, and if you're gonna vote with your dollars, if you care about your family, you have no choice but to vote for Trump. And more Black and Hispanic people are coming to that realization. I think it was the Raging Cajun who said, "Is the economy stupid?" So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this news. Now, this comes from the Epic Times from J.G. Collins, and he reported that Epic Times reporter Tom Ozimek recently wrote in these pages of former President Donald Trump's encounter with Kayla Montgomery, a young Republican political consultant whose business is to engage young Black professionals, students, and community members in the Atlanta area. The ex-president and Miss Montgomery met at a Chick-fil-A restaurant during an impromptu campaign stop in Atlanta. Miss Montgomery was effusive in her praise of President Trump, saying, quote, "I don't care what the media tells you. President Trump, we support you." A video of Miss Montgomery and the former president hugging soon went viral, even as the media and Democrats quickly dismissed the interaction as staged. Of course, they're going to say that. Then last week, President Trump left his trial in Manhattan to visit a bodega in Washington Heights, a mostly Black and immigrant community on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and received a hero's welcome from the working people there. I mean, you see it time and time again. I think it was Georgia. I want to say. I think it was Georgia. This was like a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago. He was his he was driving down the road, and you see the presidential limo, with the Secret Service riding down the road, and like people was outside cheering him on, and it was the working class were outside cheering him on and said, "We want Trump, Trump 2024." These are things that the mainstream media do not want you to see. And whether the Chick-fil-A event was staged or not is open to debate. What is undeniable, though, is that polling shows Donald Trump has upended much of the Black and Hispanic voting support Democrats have enjoyed since at least Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, and at least in some instances back to FDR's New Deal. Well, we know that Lyndon Johnson said he's going to have the Black vote for 200 years or some crap like that. But I digress. A Wall Street Journal poll showed that President Trump's support among Black men in swing states had moved to 30% earlier this month, compared to just 11% of the Black men nationally in 2020. Among Black women, those same percentages went from 6% in 2020 to 11% in April. It's the economy, stupid. Political pundits and editorial pages all seem flummoxed by President Joe Biden's erosion of support among the traditional Democrat coalition. I mean, come on though. I mean, how can he run on this terrible economy? And they're still saying the economy is great when everyone knows it's not. But no one seems more upset by the erosion of Black support than Democrat political strategist James Carville, the Raging Cajun, who engineered Bill Clinton's 1988 victory over incumbent George H.W. Bush. That's ironic because it was Mr. Carville who added the memorable phrase, "Is the economy stupid?" to the American political lexicon when he pinpointed President Bush's greatest vulnerability 36 years ago. Wow, I remember when that happened. Wow, this really shows my age. I was a kid when this happened, but I was even into politics back then because my dad was into politics back then. So I would watch the 6 o'clock news every single day with my dad. So I was always apprised on what was going on, at least through the mainstream media's point of view. But between January 2021, when President Biden took his oath of office, up to March of this year, average rents have increased by 20%. 20%. 20%. And mind you, people's people's pay hasn't kept up to that increase. Well, by comparison, residential rents increased just 12% during President Trump's entire term. Just 12%. The increased costs hit blacks and Hispanics disproportionately because of the vast disparity in home ownership, as illustrated below. So here's the figures here. You can look at that yourself. Home ownership rates by race. Black alone in the United States, that's blue. Home ownership by race, non-Hispanic, white alone, that's this group right here. And then we got rates by ethnicity of Hispanics. This is Hispanics right here of home ownership. Black folk right here at the bottom when it comes to home ownership. Blacks and Hispanic workers also disproportionately occupy positions in production and transportation material, moving jobs at higher rates, 17.8% and 16.7% respectively, than whites, 12.1%. But those are the jobs most vulnerable to being taken by the influx of the purported asylum seekers, so-called asylum seekers. We all know they just want handouts. But anyway, who typically work for less and are less likely to join unions or file complaints with the authorities against their employer. The asylum seekers have exploded since President Biden lifted U.S. border restrictions. We remember when he went in, he made a big deal about it and signed those executive orders to get rid of Trump's border policies, and now we're living with that. But here's the chart here that's showing that they're taking the jobs right here. As well as crime, of course. Big cities, every big city, crime has gone up, and a lot of it is because of the progressive left. They haven't. They're basically they're making criminals. They're helping out criminals basically. But blacks and Hispanics tend to be disproportionately affected as victims of recidivist criminals let go by criminal justice initiatives championed by left Democrat progressives in so-called blue states. We all know the no cash bail stuff, and like people literally commit murder and are out on the street less than 24 hours and commit even more crimes. It makes absolutely no sense to me. But as shown in the chart above, black victims of crime actually decreased during the Trump presidency. The chart is from a study that has not been updated for later years. By the same token, black-owned businesses were among the many businesses looted and destroyed by progressive George Floyd rioters in 2020. Y'all know I was on that. I'm like, they want to take it to the so-called man, but you're destroying small black businesses. That makes absolutely no sense to me. And then, of course, education. I mean, our kids are some of the dumbest ever. I can't remember the percentage. I want to say, I was just reading something about 20-year-olds not knowing how to sign on a check, not knowing how to sign their name on a check. This is something that used to be taught back in elementary school. You used to learn cursive. They no longer teaching that. Our education system has failed our children. But President Trump made permanent a commitment of $255 million in annual funding for historically black colleges and universities, and he increased funding for the federal Pell Grant program by signing the Future Act. Within the states, Republican legislators and governors have championed school choice and a back to basics approach to K through 12. Even Democrats acknowledge. George L. Lorza, the CEO of Democrats for Education Reform and its affiliate Education Reform Now and think tank, said, quote, "We've lost our advantage on education because I think we failed to fully acknowledge that choice resonates deeply with families, with voters. And that's true. If you have a choice, I mean, this is common sense. If you have a choice between putting your child in a school that's terrible, the teachers don't care about the students, there's a bunch of fights and crime and stuff in the school, or you got a school that has a higher academic standard, kids are graduating, going to college and stuff like that, I think everyone would like that choice of putting the kid in a good school. I mean, that's common sense. But a lot of Democrats demonize that. Meanwhile, Education Week, the left-leaning magazine, and K through 12 teachers summarized President Biden's policies as follows, quote, he's passed stricter rules for charter schools, seeking federal grant funding awarded $1 billion to boost school safety and students' mental health, and proposed an overhaul on Title IX that would give LGBTQ plus students explicit protection under the landmark sex discrimination law and bar outright bans on transgender youth who want to join athletic teams that align with their gender identity. Uh, I mean, this is the stuff that they're pushing, and it's crazy. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and read the summary here. I normally don't do the summaries, but I'm gonna go ahead and read the summary here. Black and Hispanic voters are moving towards President Trump for a simple reason: their pocketbook and their well-being. The viewpoints of mainstream media pundits, college-educated, overwhelmingly white, and mostly liberal, have long maintained a soft bigotry of racial expectations without understanding much of the economy of people who work in blue, pink, and green-collar jobs. The pundits don't understand that blacks and Hispanics, like to like the rest of the country, have experienced a near 20% cumulative erosion in the purchasing power of their dollar and rising crime. They see K through 12 education policies that deny school choice and that serve teachers' union special interests and Democrat Party gender identity dogma far more than children and parents. Black and Hispanic voters have every reason to depart from their traditional voting patterns. It's common sense. Yeah, it is common sense. Again, if you care about your family, if you care about your wallet, if you care about crime, I mean, why would you continue to vote Democrat? Why would you continue to? Why would you vote Biden back in office? That makes absolutely no sense to anyone that is remotely paying attention to what's going on in the world. But leave your comments down below, like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Till next time, peace.